Andy, and today's episode is particularly interesting for anyone who's looking to build a thriving creative business. The creator economy is set to surpass $104 billion by 2025. That's next year. Please join me in welcoming Rachel Williams to the show. Hi,
Okay.
Rachel. Thank you so much for joining me today and giving us your time. I know you're busy and you're like building a business, and I really want to dive into that journey. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat. Get into it.
I love the name Bold. Like you went for it. You're making bold moves and you're not afraid to show it. The mission is right there. So please tell me, what was the journey on getting started?
Oh my God, that's such a great question. So I made a really bold move to leave corporate America at 24 to follow my authentic passions and my dreams and all the things that I wanted to do. And I felt that's what was right in my spirit. So I went for it. And everybody kept saying, like, oh, you quit Microsoft at 24? Like, that's a bold move. I kept hearing it. I was like, you know what it is? But that's what I love. I love helping people realize that they can do that they have the power of choice, that they can choose which direction they want to take. And if we're not getting out of our comfort zone, we're not growing. And so that's the same philosophy I apply when I'm working with my clients and companies and brands. I'm encouraging them to take that bold move in so many areas. Having the confidence and of an entrepreneur, business owner, creative, whatever you're doing, have the confidence in that bold move that you can do it, and also have confidence within like the area of business, confidence that your business can take it to the next level. Whatever your grand vision is, you can do it. But it's going to require a bold move within yourself, a bold move within your business, and also a bold move within your marketing, and how you brand yourself to really be authentic and who your business is, and incorporate pieces of who you are as a person if that's what you want to do. That requires a bold move to be seen in a very authentic light. It's all scary sometimes. It's all very daunting sometimes, but that is what we have to do if we really want to step into our authentic power. We have to take bold moves throughout life. So it's literally been my life philosophy for a long time. This is not the first bold move that I've taken in my life. And so I always want to make sure I'm leaning into authenticity as much as I can. And that is directly correlated to the things you do in your life and how you make your decisions. So that's where bold moves came from.
I really love that. And what was the first bold move that you had to take that made you so sure when you were
Oh
leaving
my
Microsoft?
God. Yeah. This all happened very quickly. It was very spontaneous. I knew that my mental health, my mental, emotional, spiritual health, physical health were doing great for a while. This I did know, and I knew my environment was going to have to change. Things are going to have to change so that I can feel my healthiest. Um, but I didn't think that really meant leaving my job at the time that I did. And so it was a feeling, it was a confidence, it was a sudden bolt of tenacity and audaciousness. And I acted on it, but I acted on it from a place of having known myself a lot and doing the work to understand my feelings and how I think. When I feel that feeling, like everybody should know that feeling. And when you feel that feeling, you have to act. When you are like, if I don't do this now, I'm probably gonna talk myself out of it. And sometimes it's that first feeling, that first excitement that you have to be like, Okay, let's just go. So that was that first step.
And how did you go about identifying a need in the market and setting up your business and choosing to go down that route?
So I have always been a storyteller, a connector, a creative in that sense. I've always loved people. Marketing and content creation have been in my DNA for a very long time. I'm talking since I was a little girl, making little things and videos and pictures and, just designing some random stuff. Like that has always been in my DNA. And so I knew that I've always wanted to be in that space. And then the opportunity came. I'm actually the chief marketing officer of a nonprofit here in Chicago called Beauty and Brains. I absolutely love it. And we are a community and network of Black women. We have events, scholarships, programs. It's absolutely amazing. Shout out to Beauty and Brains. And I became the chief marketing officer. We were pretty small. It was the first time, Beauty and Brains had multiple people together, and we wanted to build it up. We wanted to do it. We wanted to have a community. We put our minds to it, and we just celebrated our 6th year actually in August. So we have just been able to see the power of community, and I've gotten hands-on experience doing that in the nonprofit space, and I absolutely loved it. I mean, I love it to this day, but that's why I was like, wait a second. I've been able to, I had zero knowledge. I had zero knowledge on anything community building, anything actual putting marketing strategies to practice, anything designing, like super fresh. And I've just been able to grow and learn in all of those ways. And now here we are 6 years later, extremely successful and just at the start. And I'm like, the possibilities are endless, but it's what I love to do. And I said, hey, I can do this for other people, other people, other businesses, other brands who are just looking to grow and expand and actually go for their vision. And doing nonprofit work with Beauty and Brains has given me the courage and confidence and inspired me to be able to go do that. So yeah, I niche down to purpose-driven organizations and brands very specifically because I always love talking with people who are so passionate about what they're doing and have a very purpose-driven mission that, is in their DNA. I'm like, this is in my DNA. What's in yours? And how can we work together? And so I love working with just really passionate people in those ways.
I love the idea of purpose-driven organizations and putting that at the center of your work. What is like the purpose for you that is behind the work that you do, especially as someone who's worked both in the NGO sector and the corporate sector? What are some of like the lessons that you've drawn from that, and why the importance and the focus of purpose-driven?
My purpose is to make people feel good. And I do that through helping them realize they can be their authentic self and they can go for the life that they want. Whatever makes their heart go pity pat, whatever gets them into a flow state and makes them feel good. Because what that does is when people are truly embodying an essence of love for themselves and what they do in their life, they're just multiplying the goodness in the world. That's why I always say we're just multiplying the goodness. And the best way to do that is to have a true, genuine, authentic. That's the only way or place that love is really going to come from, is you being authentic. Because you can't really go after what you want if you don't know exactly who you are. And going after what we want, is just how things manifest and materialize in this earth. If everybody is doing what they love and feeling good, just imagine how that would change the world, change our consciousness, and help us just grow, evolve, as people. So I just like to make people feel good, feel warm, feel comfortable, feel seen, feel understood, because I know that they're taking that feeling and just multiplying it to everybody else. And that's what we need.
I really love that. And you do radiate warmth. And I think I've been so lucky through like this whole process. I've been talking to people who are so warm and so energetic and everything. And I hope if you're listening or watching that you can feel that energy.
I hope so too. I love you. I love you all. I love you.
Diving a little bit more into like the marketing strategies, once you'd like chosen the name or the name chose you, what were some of the ways you went about starting to get yourself out there, getting your first client and turning that idea into actual revenue?
Yes, actually, I always say I describe myself as a artist because all of the art that I do, everything is art. And it comes from the heart. One of the most beautiful art forms to me is taking a thought out of like thin air and literally making it into something physical and tangible. That whole process is art. And so, one, my first thing that I would say is lean into the process. I had to lean into the process of discovery and being okay with just being in a very brainstorming mindset. You have no idea what's going on. You really have no idea what you're thinking about half of the time. You're just kind of connecting the dots, putting the pieces together, feeling a lot of things, and just being open to that process and knowing that you're not going to have something really tangible right now. It's not going to make sense, but you just really have to do the things. You have to do the small steps that are going to lead you to that desired outcome, even if you don't know where it's going to come. So leaning into that process was a mindset that I had to keep in mind throughout this. But then secondly, something really specific that I did, I'm a course girly. I'm a course girl. I'm a program girl. I love education. Education is also in my DNA, which is why I love beauty and brains as well, because we're tapping into education. And I don't just mean the school system. Even at Microsoft, when I was on the education marketing team, I got a chance to really immerse myself in the education space. So I love all things education. I think it's just a gateway to learning and building and growing and developing. I would say I put that at a priority. I put learning as a priority. A lot of times, like, I bet if you ask a lot of people, like, how conscious are you about learning and developing, not just doing, and of course, experiential learning is very valuable in its own way. You definitely learn by doing also, but really putting in that time to reach out to different sources, almost like you're back in school. You're learning, you're studying, you're doing the things. And so I made that a priority because I knew that would lead me to a lot of the places that I wanted to go and have a solid foundation for my business. And especially if we're talking about business, I wanted to have a solid foundation of all the things. So that process for me looked like I got so many courses, I was in so many programs, but also making sure to not overwhelm myself with that, because I know that could be overwhelming and stressful sometimes. And so I just felt what felt good at the moment. And yeah, I learned a lot.
What were some of your favorite courses and what were some of like your favorite lessons that you took away from those?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite courses is a course called Most Profitable Quarter Yet, and it's by Alyssa Coleman. Shout out to Alyssa. She is amazing. And that course really put together from start to finish what you need to do to build your business and have your most profitable quarter. And it's beautifully set up. I loved it. I think the thing that I took away mostly from that is how much you need to know your audience. That has a specific focus in each area of the program and workshop. And I love leaning into people's needs. And it also told me the point, even when I'm working with clients, you have to have a focus on the audience, who you're serving, their pain points, and really putting yourself in other people's shoes is really important throughout this whole marketing, branding, creative process, knowing your audience. So I love that piece of her course.
That is so true. I think learning and specifically being interested in what value are you creating for the other person, what is their need, and how are you meeting and feeling that need, and how did you go about like reaching out? Did you do pitching?
I literally always say this. Everybody who knows me knows it's my favorite mantra. Every person is a golden link to my chain of good. And once I really understood that, because I was like, oh my God, I'm a walking business. I'm a walking business. I'm a walking brand. I'm representing myself. Like, if you go on my website, it's me. And so every conversation I have, every interaction I have to be in that heart space, and be open to the connections I'm meeting. Because, like I said, every person is a golden link. You never know who you are talking to, what they have to offer, why this conversation needs to happen right now. You just never know. You have to be so open minded. And I was open minded with everybody, every conversation. I would say word of mouth is a huge, huge, huge part of what I do and the space I'm in. That's how a lot that's how a lot of my opportunities have come my way. Just a person of a person of a person. And it's like, whoa, how did I get here? And it's like, oh my God, it's amazing. So I would just encourage everybody to always be open-minded about who they're connecting with and the conversations they're having. And don't be afraid to be vulnerable. You have to share things with people and tell them what you love to do, and they'll tell you what they love to do, and it's just a beautiful exchange of energy. So always encourage that. I mean, I can go on and on and also other strategic things about clients and getting very purpose driven people. In my example, one, like I said, a huge part of it is showing up as myself. And you are going to attract what you put out. So if you show up in the space that you want to attract, then you'll get that. And just being very specific also, I would go to LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great, great, great place to find people. You have literal access to so many people doing great things. So I would encourage people. My greatest tip has just been take some time out on LinkedIn. Take some time out of your day on LinkedIn to just go see what's cool, see who has an interesting story, engage. And I bet you will naturally start to see movement and momentum and progress, because like I said, you're connecting with people, and that is a very simple, strategic, and actionable thing that I try. Even it's like, you're like, okay, how do I just go out and talk to people? That's how that's how we're here right now. And so it's a beautiful place, and I would just encourage people to lean into that, lean into people, lean into talking and speaking your truth in all ways. And that's going to be the best way opportunities come, in my experience.
Yes, that is so true. And like this is a testament of LinkedIn
No,
working.
yeah, a LinkedIn testimony.
But I love that because I think a lot of people sometimes feel very discouraged about having, let's say, 10 people, 100 people, but then they forget that those are 10 real people, those are 100 real people, and you never know who else is watching you or engaging with your profile or your content.
You never know. The craziest things have happened. I've witnessed the craziest things have happened. I've experienced the crazy things that have happened when you're just open to people. There's so much.
Do let us know some of those like crazy stories. Like, what's one thing that happened that was so unexpected for you?
Oh my God. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, we can get into it, but shout out to LinkedIn again. I was really struggling at some point to find an internship. We're going all the way back to college. I was really struggling trying to find internship, and even throughout high school I never had one. It was the craziest thing, and I always just kept my LinkedIn profile kind of correct. It was always pretty good. And somebody from Microsoft reached out to me through LinkedIn and was like, "Hey, your profile looks cool. Let's get on an interview tomorrow." And I'm like, "What?" Coming from, I didn't have internship experience. I was very involved in high school and things and being a student athlete, but I didn't have that experience. So I was like, me? An interview at Microsoft out of nowhere? Out of actually nowhere. I did the interview, fast forward through several rounds of interviews and things. I ended up getting the internship, and I did the internship, and I ended up getting a full-time return offer. So that's how all of that has happened. Like crazy.
That is so awesome and such a
Really.
test. Like always have your brand out correct.
You never know who's looking, you never know who's watching. And even for content creators, I say that too. I walk in that as well. Put your content out there. But it is hard to do that, especially in the beginning stages when you aren't getting the validation, the affirmation, that other people who have a larger audience are getting. But it's like, duh, they started there too. And you just have to put your content out there. And, I'm trying to practice what I preach also. So this is a word for me too, but you just have to do it and put yourself out there and be who you are, because you never know who's going to come across, and that could be a big break.
Well, call me as your official accountability partner. I'll be just checking in. Be like, are you putting yourself out there? Are you doing the thing?
No, you need to. You need to. I need an accountability partner. Like I said, I just celebrated 1 year on August 6th. So I'm still very fresh and learning and experiencing and growing through all of the challenge that it is being an entrepreneur and, stepping out on faith. It's always a process. It's an ongoing process. So I'm learning all of this still, and I'm just learning it in different ways.
All right. My next question was around the clients that you work with. What's like one situation where you might have encouraged the client to take a bold move, and what was like the growth and impact that they gained from that?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I've seen a lot of transformation with my clients, because a lot of people, this is their first introduction into marketing, into branding, and what they can do, how they can express themselves. I think my first one was, I was helping someone transform their transportation business and what they do, and they just loved working with people. And so it was what they wanted to do. And it was my first experience and encounter working with somebody who loved it. Was my first one. So I was like, this is exciting. And getting to experience somebody who actually loves their work and loves what they want to do, and helping him realize that he can do that. And we transformed his whole brand and his whole business. And he is just absolutely just striving, striving for all the great things, just being so amazing. So I always hold that very near and dear to my heart because a lot of the times I'm working with different generations as well. There's generational differences with mindsets and stuff. And so I've learned how to, or I'm still learning how to really make people feel like they can do that and be who they want to be, even with these different mindsets. And people are like, no, let's just keep it how it is. Keep it conventional. And you don't have to breaking the concept that don't fix it if it's not broken. I'm not really one for that. It's like, yes, okay, it could be working. You're figuring it out. Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's great. But are you really feeling good? Is this the dream? One of my friends always says, is this the dream? If it's not the dream, then what can you do? I don't believe we should just settle for things, quote unquote, working, but trying to see how we can even make them more impactful.
I love that. I love that so much. And if you were to give 5 tips or 5 strategies and advice when a brand is going through like a transformation or a realignment, what would those be?
That's a good one. First tip is don't be afraid to pause or stop if you just need to. If you're not feeling it, if your heart's in it, if it's a force, if it's a drag, if something's not working, you can stop. So with Beauty and Brains, we had to stop. We had to put a message out to our community and be very vulnerable and honest. Said, hey, we'll be back. It's always best to do that than to keep trying to force where it's not working. So we did that. I would say don't be as afraid of that. And then 2, take a look at why you want to rebrand. What is it for? Who are you trying to attract now? Also making sure it's coming from an authentic place, because you don't want to rebrand just because you're trying to be on the trends or keeping up, but is this the actual evolution of the brand, and making sure it's really true to what the brand is. So I would say do some deep internal reflection. I mean, Beauty and Brains, we had many, many, many conversations about our visions, our goals, what we want to put out, what's the mission, what's the vision, what's the message. All of that has to be very calculated. And like I said, that's when all of those courses come into play, helping you really sit down and say, okay, how do we move through this? How do we navigate through this? Because that is a lot. Having that think time. I call it think time. So I would say, don't be scared to stop. Have some think time. And then I'm going to take it to the audience this time. Like I said, that's a huge component. We learned a lot through research. Prioritizing research, I would say, is extremely important, because at some point we weren't doing that. And we realized all of the great things we can do if we just listened for a second and stop trying to do and just listen. And so we had a lot of success when we did that. And I would just encourage a lot of market research. Number 4, I want to lean into partnerships a little bit. I think that just came to mind for a second, and encourage entrepreneurs, creatives, all the people to get into partnerships. We've had some magical experience and things, like I said, working with people and being open to creating and collaborating and doing different things. You don't have to do everything by yourself. Like, you truly do not. Partner up. partner up and make beautiful, amazing things happen, because to me, it's just power in numbers. We love doing partnerships, and that was a huge part of our rebrand and growing our community, is engaging with people who are in the community and doing other cool stuff, and always being open to infusing and mixing and doing all of that stuff. That's a really great tip. And then I would say a brand guide is really important for all of your content. Please get a brand guide. It's so many brands and companies and things that I'm going in, and I'm like, okay, where's this logo? Where's this font? Keep your things in order, your systems in order. Content creation will only be that much easier if you have your wording cohesive, your message cohesive, your position cohesive. Everything about your brand is in sync, because the last thing you want is to be talking this type of way on one channel and then talking this type of way on another channel. And it's like, these are, yes, it's the same brand, but these feel like two completely different ideas. And I see that a lot, simply because people do not have a brand guide to refer to where everything is living. It's like, okay, how do we say this? What's the language? What's the tone? Who is our brand? It's like your brand journal. You have to keep that. You have to keep your brand journal to just know who you are, who your business is, and how you can be tracking that and changing that, because you're going to need that for the next rebrand. You're going to always need a place where everything about your brand is living. And I would just encourage to get that together.
This actually aligns perfectly with like my next question, which is around, I know strategic storytelling is very key in your business. What are some of the key points that you go in when you're like working with a brand in terms of telling their stories, and what advice would you also give around that?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love storytelling. Like I said, my friends and everybody was like, oh my God, you gonna love a good story. I would say plan your stories. They're actually very strategic. Sit down. One of my favorite things to look at is like the hero's journey. It's like a story arc of all of how a hero's journey just comes, in books, education, and literature, all of that stuff. I love looking to that. There's another one. So that's a tip, look into the hero's journey. That's a fantastic way to do storytelling. And a lot of the times it's very applicable in just everyday life. I bet a lot of people could find some parallels and commonalities between when they're trying to tell a story to the community and express that in their content, and framing it with the hero's journey. I'm forgetting his name, but it's another story arc that it's called Public Narrative. That's what it's called, by Marshall Nas. It's the story of self, the story of us, and the story of now. That's a really great way to break down a strategic story, especially when you're building a community and telling that to an audience. The story of the self. And so I'll use a Beauty and Brains. In this case, how we tell our story is how Beauty and Brains came about, our community, and then where we want to go. And it's a very strategic storytelling way to bring people in. And so I would encourage to look up frameworks. It's an art to it. It's an art to it, and you want to be very strategic and intentional about that, because how you tell your story is how people are going to perceive you, and perception is reality. So before you get to the brand guide, before you get to the website, before you get to creating content, you need to know your story. your story, your pitch, all of that, because that also plays a lot into the copywriting and the design and the personality and the flair. Everything is going to come from your story.
That is so powerful. I love that. And I love that we're going right back to like learning from people who've already succeeded at it, who know it, who researched it, who've created the frameworks, because it makes it so much easier when you're building yourself. And like, I love that that's still like the focus, because that's such an important lesson for people to take away. And lastly, I just wanted to get into, is there anything else that you would say, this is what I would give as advice to a brand or business or a creator who's building a business in themselves, looking to work with clients and looking to get their business off the ground?
I would say to the entrepreneur, to the person who is literally a salesperson all day, because that's what it is. And this is some advice that I always try and tell myself and remind myself is don't be weary or shy about putting value on your creativity and on your work. A lot of the times I think, and like I said, this is something I'm still learning myself, is especially when it comes so naturally and flows so easily, a lot of the times, it's your thing. It's your jam. You don't know how much you're worth. You don't know how talented you are. You don't know how much you could help somebody. And step into that. Don't be afraid of that, of knowing your worth and asserting your boundaries and just leaning into my work is great. My work is great. I do great things. And people need me. People need my talent. People need my creativity. And I think that is such an important lesson as an entrepreneur and as just a walking walking business person.
I like that. And I like that at the start you did say, like, I'm a walking business. And I think all of us need to embody that, because when you start to understand that, you represent yourself in that way, because you understand that you are the business and people will look to you to know what they're going to get.
You are the expert. I think shifting into that identity of being an expert, to all of the creatives out there, that is interesting sometimes, especially when you're just starting out on your own and people are looking to you as an expert. You have to really step into that role. But like I said, you are the expert. You are the expert. You know this. Your work is phenomenal. And yes, it's very valuable in the story.
Like, we're ending this note with like some positivity, some affirmations. Your work is phenomenal.
Yes,
You're amazing.
your story. You are that valuable.
I love that. I love that so much. Please let us know where people can find you or get into contact with you.
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn.
This episode should be sponsored by LinkedIn at this point.
Hello. Sponsor. Seriously, it's a great place to connect with me. I'm super open. I have coffee chats and discovery calls available on my website, boldmovebranding.com. And you all can find my email, all that good stuff. I love just chit-chatting with people. So even if it's nothing in particular that you have in mind, you just want to connect, I'm always open to that. And also, if you're ready to make that bold move and you like, okay, I'm ready to get things going, and you want to talk about some digital marketing, content creation, integrated marketing, all the things, brand development, we can talk. I'd be so excited to brainstorm and connect with you. And also, I am open for mentorship, speaking engagements, all the things, event hosting. Like I said, I love community. I love sharing my journey and things that I've learned. So that's always amazing to be in those opportunities in the community as well.
Well, I love that. And thank you so, so much for creating the time to be with us today and sharing your journey, sharing your tips and advice, and really emphasizing importance of learning and connecting and being kind and just being a really good human as well.
Thank you. This was so refreshing.
And that's a wrap on another insightful episode of Founder's Journey. We hope you found today's discussion as inspiring and informative as we did. Remember, navigating the startup world can be challenging, but you don't have to do it alone. If you're looking for a way to connect with top talent and streamline your hiring process, we highly recommend giving AMAKA Gigs a try. Our platform makes it easier than ever to find and manage freelance professionals who can help turn your vision into reality. So why not take a moment to explore AMAKA and see how we can support your journey? And as always, stay curious, stay driven, and keep innovating.